Hey guys, we've got a lot of requests that came in about mullein, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how to identify it and how we like to use it medicinally. Mullein is one of those plants that you've probably seen but maybe didn't recognize because you weren't looking for it. But it grows pretty much everywhere people are. It grows along sides of paths and roads, areas that are compact and difficult to grow anything else. That's where mullein usually shows up. This one here is kind of a big example we have in front of the cabin. This one is at least in its second or third year of growth, and I can tell because it has a stalk that comes up and it's in flower. We're in the middle of June right now, and that's usually when you're going to start seeing the flowers appearing on older plants. This is also at least a second year growth plant, and I can tell because it has a stalk and it has a seed head. This one only has one head on it though, so I'm going to assume this is just in its second year of growth, whereas the large one that we had closer to the house was probably in its second year, maybe even third year. They do continue to come back if you don't pull up the roots. But this is a great example of a healthy young plant, and we're going to go over some of the other identifying features. But first I want to show you a first year plant. That way you can recognize them without having to look for a stem or a stalk and a flower head. And here's an example of a first year plant. It's the exact same plant. It grows the same way in a rosette type pattern where the leaves alternate around what will soon be a stem coming up, or a stalk, a central stalk. The leaves are the same as they are on the mature plants. Now on some of the really old plants that have been around for a few years, they won't be as fuzzy as the younger plants. They'll be a little bit smoother, but they'll have the same characteristics minus some of that fuzz. And we're going to get into that. Came in the house because it was really starting to get hot out. I've already changed my shirt once and I'll probably be changing it again. New England has been brutal so far and we haven't even hit summer yet. But anyway, let's get back to the leaves. The leaves are really going to be your primary way of identifying the plant. No matter what age the plant or the leaf, they're going to be oval. They're not going to have any kind of serrations or teeth around the edges. They're going to be fuzzy and and hairy, almost like a velvety texture. And on the back of the leaf, they're going to be extremely veiny. This right here is going to be your major characteristic, the easiest way to tell that you've got the right plant. But as you can see, the younger leaves are going to be a lighter green and extremely fuzzy or velvety. And as it gets older, it's going to get slightly darker and a little less fuzz, a little darker, a little less fuzz, and a very mature leaf, very dark, and a lot less fuzz, but it still has that velvety feel to it. So it's not just about the size of the leaf to tell how old the plant is. You can also tell by color and how fuzzy the leaf is. The back of the leaf, no matter the age, is going to have those very pronounced veining. You'll see it even on the youngest of leaves. And as it gets older, they become more and more pronounced until you end up with this. And it's unmistakable that this is going to be a mullein plant. Now, one of the things that you can use to help identify what a plant does for you medicinally, at least this is what some homeopaths will tell you, is how a plant looks. And because this looks like a lung, that's exactly what we're going to be using it for medicinally. There are other medicinal uses for it, and we'll get into those later. And there are other non-medicinal uses for it that we can talk about later as well. But identifying the plant, this is what we're looking for. A large, very pliable, soft, velvety, oval leaf that has extremely pronounced veining in the back. Now, like I said, the leaves are really what's most important for us medicinally. They're considered anodyne, astringent, and antiseptic, but primarily they're a mucus expectorant. So they're really good for clearing up congestions, if you have mucus buildup or if you have a bad cough. We like to take this, dry it up, and we use it as a tea. We usually make a cold and flu tea, and I'll be sure to link. We've made a video on that in the past, and I'll link that at the end of this video. But it's one of the ingredients we use in our cold and flu because it really does break up any kind of congestion that you may have. But it also works well if you have allergies and you've got a lot of mucus building up because of allergies. Making a tea from this works great. Um, Historically, Native Americans would actually dry, roll, and smoke mullein to help clear up their lungs. And it does sound kind of backwards that you would smoke to make your lungs work better, but that's how they used to do it. We don't smoke mullein here. We do make tea out of it. It's a lot easier to use it that way. But there's other uses for it. I think I had mentioned that it was soft and velvety, and Boy Scouts use it as toilet paper. You can use it as kind of a napkin or a cloth if you need to like wash your hands or wash something off. They're not super tough, but they're fairly tough. They're very, very flexible, and they're very, very soft. And as they dry, they become very absorbent as well. So there's lots of different uses for these. But like I said, what we usually do is we don't collect the older leaves, and we don't collect the younger leaves. We usually look for leaves about the size of your hand, maybe a little bit larger. And these are the ones that we process. I'll cut the stems out just to make it a little easier to work with. We dry them in our dehydrator, or you can dry them in a brown paper bag, or you can put them in the oven. But we dry the leaves so that we can make a tea. Dried leaves always steep better than green leaves. And once the tea is made, you can go ahead and just steep it in some hot water, drink it. It has a fairly pleasant taste. It doesn't have a nasty taste to it. It is astringent, so it has a little bit of a green bite to it, but it does help clear up any kind of congestion that you may have. Other uses for mullein, though, we'll get into those as well. I was able to go out and find a stalk of old mullein from last year. It still has its seed head on it. The flowers are past. You can hear the rattle. There are still seeds inside the seed head. And here's what it looks like. I pulled it up by the roots. It's a dead plant at this point. The stalk is fairly straight and very hard on the outside. It has a pith on the inside, which is what makes the stalk, the old dried stalks, very usable. If you make primitive fires, if you do a hand spindle for making a hand drill fire, mullein stalk works awesome because it's hard on the outside and has a soft pith on the inside. It's fairly straight, and it doesn't have a whole lot of branches on the outside, so it's very easy to smooth and clean up the outside. Cut a spindle about, say, 16 to 20 inches long, and you can use that to make your hand drill fires. If you can find a mullein plant that's thick enough, you can find at the base of the stalk, this one's not big enough, but you can make a bow drill spindle as well from mullein. It's not used as often, but for a hand drill, this is definitely an excellent plant to use. Another use for these, because they're pithy, if you were to smoke the leaves, for instance, you can use this stem as the stem for a corncob pipe. All you would have to do is push the pith out, and you have yourself a tube or a straw, and that would be the stem for your pipe. You can make whistles using mullein, again, because it's very hard, but it has a soft pith that you can knock out. That gives you the pipe that you need for making whistles or flutes. And then another controversial use would be the seed head. Like I said, the seeds are still in this flower head. if you knock the seeds out, these seeds can be used for fishing. I'm not going to get into exactly how you do that because it's illegal, but the Native Americans, at least in our area, would use mullen seeds to help them when they went fishing. If you want to research that yourself, you can. I'm not going to get into it in this video. Well, I tried to cover all of the basics about mullen. If you'd like more in-depth information, you can visit our webpage, and under foraging, I do have an article about mullen, how to find it, how to process it. And if there are any other plants that you'd like us to do a video on. I did mullen today because of all the emails and comments that we've been getting on it, probably because it's that time of the year. If there's any other plants that you'd like something on, just leave it down in the comments. If you want to let us know how you use mullen, leave that down in the comments too. I like to share the different ways people use the plants that they find, whether you make a tincture or a salve, or if you make a tea out of it. Let us know down below. And until the next video, see ya.